Recall the structure of Daniel 8 through 12, that of a repetition or parallel. This structure can be further subdivided by its content on whether it consists of Daniel's prophetic visions or the angelic explanations he was given. Daniel 8 through 12, the visions of Daniel. Daniel 8 and 9 subdivides with Daniel 8, 1 through 14 being taken up by Daniel's vision, and Daniel 8, 15 through 9:27 by the angelic explanation of Gabriel. Daniel 10 is completely taken up by Daniel's vision. Daniel 11 is completely taken up by the angelic explanation. And Daniel 12 is completely taken up by Daniel's vision. To understand the main theme of the prophecy of Daniel 8 through 12, it is crucial to see what Daniel saw in vision. So now on to the visions of Daniel 8 through 12. Daniel 8. The first thing Daniel sees is a ram which had 2 horns. And the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. Daniel saw the ram pushing westward, and northward, and southward, verses 3 and 4. Then Daniel sees something new. From the west, an he-goat came, on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. Verse 5. The he-goat came to the ram, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him. Verses 6 and 7. And the he-goat smote the ram, and brake his 2 horns. He cast him down to the ground, and stamped upon him. Verse 7. When the he-goat was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones, towards the 4 winds of heaven. Verse 8. And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great, toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven. Verses 9 and 10. And the little horn, some of the host and of the stars, it cast down to the ground, and stamped upon them. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host. Verses 10 and 11. And by the little horn the daily was taken away, and the place of the prince of the host's sanctuary was cast down. Verse 11. Against the daily by reason of transgression, an host was given the little horn, and the truth, that host it cast down to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. Verse 12. Daniel 10. Then I lifted up mine eyes, and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. His body also was like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like in color to polished brass, and the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude. Verses 5 and 6. Daniel 12. There stood other 2, the one on this side of the bank of the river, and the other on that side of the bank of the river, and the man clothed in linen was upon the waters of the river. Verses 5 and 6. And that brings Daniel's visions to a close. That is the extent of what he saw. Daniel 8. Only 2 animals. A dead ram and a living goat, and the goat kills the ram. Why? Why two? Why a dead ram and a living goat? Why? Daniel 8-12, the Day of Atonement. Leviticus 16. A ram, verse 8-3. The he-goat cast the ram down to the ground, and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. Verse 8-7. The ram is killed. One ram for a burnt offering. Leviticus 16:5. An he-goat. Verse 8:5. The he-goat remains alive. But the goat on which the lot fell to be for Azazel shall be presented alive before the Lord, to make an atonement with him, and to let him go for Azazel into the wilderness. Leviticus 16:10. Only on the Day of Atonement did a sacrificial animal leave the sanctuary alive. When he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable horns towards the 4 winds of heaven. Daniel 8:8. Aaron shall go out unto the altar that is before the Lord, and make an atonement for it, and shall take of the blood, and put it upon the horns of the altar round about. Leviticus 16:18. Sanctuary. Daniel 8:11. Then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. Daniel 8:14. And he shall make an atonement for the holy place, because of the uncleanliness of the children of Israel, and because of their transgressions in all their sins. And so shall he do for the tabernacle of the congregation, that remaineth among them in the midst of their uncleanliness. Leviticus 16:16. A certain man, clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. Daniel 10:5. Aaron shall put on the holy linen coat, and he shall have the linen breeches upon his flesh, and shall be girded with a linen girdle, and with the linen mitre shall be attired. Leviticus 16:4. Behold, there stood other 2, the one on this side of the bank of the river, and the other on that side of the bank of the river. And one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river. Daniel 12:5-6. He shall take of the blood, and sprinkle it with his finger upon the mercy seat eastward, and before the mercy seat shall he sprinkle of the blood with his finger 7 times. Leviticus 16:14. There I will meet with thee, and I will commune with thee from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubims which are upon the ark of the testimony. Exodus 25:22. It is clear that the imagery of the visions of Daniel 8-12 draw directly from the Day of Atonement, a day of judgment for Old Testament Israel. Why, though? 2 choices: children of the ram or children of the he-goat. Daniel 8. A ram, verse 3. An he-goat, verse 5. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory, and before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal. Matthew 25:31-46. We never realized it before, but in the parable of the sheep and the goats, Jesus was making a direct reference to Daniel 8 and the Day of Atonement. Either we can be sheep, children of the ram, or goats, children of the he-goat. Which would you be? Two choices: children of the ram or children of the he-goat. Daniel 8. A ram. Verse 3. The he-goat cast the ram down to the ground and stamped upon him. Verse 7. The little horn cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground and stamped upon them. Verse 10. Note, both the ram and the host and the stars are destroyed in the same way, cast down to the ground and stamped upon. They are linked, connected, one in persecution. In other words, the host and the stars are children of the ram and he-goat. Verse 5. The great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones. Verse 8. Out of one of the horns came forth a little horn. Verse 9. Daniel 8 is clear. There really are only 2 choices: children of the ram or children of the he-goat. Why? Why? Why, though? Daniel 2 and 7 are very different in comparison to Daniel 8 through 12. In Daniel 2, we have iron mixed with miry clay. In Daniel 7, a little horn with eyes of a man and a mouth speaking great things against the Most High. In both of these visions, the true church is shown indistinct from the false. In Daniel 8 through 12, we have 2 distinct groups: the ram and the host and the stars versus the he-goat and the little horn. Note, the little horn has no eyes or mouth. In these visions, the true church is shown distinct from the false. In Daniel 2, we have a stone cut out of a mountain without hands. In Daniel 7, a judgment scene. The judgment was set and the books were opened. In both of these visions, a picture of the judgment is given. In the visions of Daniel 8 through 12, no picture of the judgment is given. But the judgment separates the true from the false. And Daniel 8 through 12 mentions a true church separate and distinct from the false. The entire sequence, Daniel 8 through 12, is the judgment. Recall, Daniel 8 through 12 draws its imagery from the Day of Atonement. In Daniel 8 through 12, we stand as if in the judgment. All deception is swept away, the true self and one's true master is revealed, be it ram or he-goat. Yesterday you were asleep. Today you are awake. Your choices are before you. What will it be? Ram or he-goat? If ram, then shout it. Awake! Your brothers and sisters sleep. Babylon is fallen. Come out of her, my people. But why? These great beasts, which are 4 kings. Daniel 7:17. The 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon earth. Daniel 7:23. So king equals beast equals kingdom. They are interchangeable. Daniel 8. Ram and he-goat. A ram. Daniel 8:3. The Medo-Persian Empire. Daniel 8:20. Equated to Cyrus the Great, the founder and greatest king of that empire. Note: this is patterned after Daniel 2:37 and 38, in which King Nebuchadnezzar, the greatest king of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, is equated to that empire. That saith of Cyrus, he is my shepherd. Isaiah 44:28. Thus saith the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus. Isaiah 45:1. But we have another who is a shepherd and who is God's anointed. Jesus. I am the good shepherd. John 10:11. Jesus the Christ, or the anointed. Matthew 16:20. Daniel 8. Ram and he-goat. A ram. Jesus. A he-goat. Azazel, the devil. He was moved with choler against him. He cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him. Daniel 8:7. A picture of the devil's anger and hatred toward the Son of God, which was made manifest to the universe at the cross of Calvary. Recall that this battle between the ram and the goat is part of the Day of Atonement, the judgment. Not that it occurred then, but that this controversy is central to the judgment. Daniel 7 and 8. Now to link back Daniel 8 to Daniel 2 and Daniel 7. The bear and the ram. Another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side. Daniel 7:5. A ram, which had 2 horns. The 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other. Daniel 8:3. Raised up on one side. One was higher than the other. 2 parts, one stronger than the other. The Persians, the younger kingdom, are stronger than the Medes, and the higher came up last. Daniel 8:3. The leopard and the goat. Another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads. Daniel 7:6. An he-goat came, and touched not the ground, which had a notable horn, that was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones towards the 4 winds of heaven. Daniel 8:5 and 8. 4 wings of a fowl. Touched not the ground. 4 heads. 4 notable horns toward the 4 winds of heaven. 4 divisions. After the great horn was broken. Daniel 8:8. That is, Alexander the Great dies. See verse 21. The conquest is rapid. The 2 little horns. Another little horn, with eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great words against the Most High, and he shall wear out, or make war with, the saints of the Most High. Daniel 7:8, 21, and 25. Out of one of them came forth a little horn, it waxed great, even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them. Daniel 8, 9, and 10. A little horn. A little horn. Speaking great words against the Most High. waxed great even to the host of heaven. Wear out or make war with the saints of the Most High. Cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them. Note, the horn of Daniel 8 has no eyes or mouth. There is, however, another big difference, a bigger difference, between the two horns. What are each of the little horns attached to? The fourth beast, whose teeth were of iron and his nails of brass. Daniel 7:19, etc. The he-goat. Daniel 8:5-9. Note, in Daniel 2, concerning the kingdom of the he-goat, we read, another third kingdom of brass, verse 39. Note, in Daniel 2, concerning the kingdom of the fourth beast, we read, the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, verse 40. Recall the iron and potter's clay, the brass and miry clay of Daniel 2 and Daniel 7. Recall the visions of Daniel 2 and Daniel 7. The political, nations in their rise and fall. The little horn of Daniel 7. Its connection, it's a political connection to Rome. While the little horn of Daniel 8, its connection runs back to Greece because it's a religious connection to Greece. Hence, while chapters 2 and 7 emphasize the political, chapters 8 through 12 emphasize the religious. Thus, Daniel 8 through 12, the Day of Atonement. Imagery, 2 clean sacrificial animals, a slain sacrificed animal, horns of the altar of sacrifice, altar of incense, the sanctuary, the high priest, and the Most High, God Himself. In short, the religious. But we missed something. Daniel 2 and Daniel 7 give a political view of the world, a view held commonly by all 7 billion of us on this planet, in which the world consists of many nations and sides, conflicts between these nations, and much chaos. But Daniel 8 through 12 pulls aside the curtain and gives us a different view, a view of the hidden world, a religious view of the world, the true view of the world, the great controversy between Christ and Satan, the truth that there are only 2 sides, all the rest is deception. And our little horn of Daniel 8 doesn't have eyes and a mouth in chapter 8 because when the curtain is pulled back, then the deception is gone, and so is God's true church, the potter's clay and the eyes of a man and a mouth speaking for the Most High, leaving behind the bronze which had made it miry, useless clay, and a mouth speaking against the Most High. Goodbye, old dried up and dead world. Hello, heavenly Canaan, land of the redeemed. May your eyes be open to the truth. And God said, "Let there be light."